In the glittering cage of his Seattle penthouse, James Caldwell sat alone, the city's skyline a cold mirror to his grief. 3 years had passed since cancer stole his wife, Lily, leaving him with a tech empire and a heart too heavy to carry. His 6-year-old daughter, Sophie, laughed faintly down the hall, her voice mingling with that of Amelia Harper, the nanny who'd brought warmth to their sterile world. Amelia, with her chestnut hair and guarded eyes, was a mystery James couldn't ignore. One evening, clutching her forgotten blue scarf, he followed her through the rain-slicked streets, driven by a reckless need to know her truth. The bus led him to a glowing community center in Fremont, where Amelia played piano for children whose smiles lit her face in ways he'd never seen. But as he watched from the shadows, another figure emerged, a man from her past, his presence a whisper of trouble. What James discovered that night wasn't just Amelia's secret. It was a spark that could either mend his broken family or unravel it forever. Could love bloom where grief had taken root, or would the ghosts of their pasts, his loss, her pain, keep them apart? One choice, one truth, would change everything. James Caldwell sat at his glass desk, the city's lights glinting through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse. His fingers hovered over a laptop, but his mind was elsewhere, on the empty chair across from him, where Lily used to sit, sketching her designs. 3 years since her death, and the void hadn't shrunk. His company, Caldwell Tech, had doubled in value, but his heart felt bankrupt. Down the hall, Sophie's laughter echoed faintly. James glanced at his watch. 6:45 p.m. Amelia, the nanny, would be finishing her shift soon. She'd been with them for a year, hired after a string of caregivers who couldn't connect with Sophie. Amelia was different. Sophie adored her, and James, though he'd never admit it, relied on her quiet competence. "Daddy, come see my drawing." Sophie called, bursting into the study with a crayon masterpiece. James forced a smile. "It's great, sweetheart. I'll hang it up tomorrow, okay?" Sophie's face fell. "You always say that." Amelia appeared at the door, her chestnut hair tied in a loose bun. "Sophie, let's get your pajamas on. Your dad's got a big meeting." James caught Amelia's eye, a fleeting moment of understanding. "Thanks, Amelia," he said, returning to his screen. As Amelia led Sophie away, James overheard her whisper, "Don't worry, Sophie. He loves you. He's just busy." The word stung. Was he that transparent? That evening, after Amelia left, James noticed her scarf on the couch, a soft blue thing, out of place in his sterile home. He picked it up, intending to return it tomorrow, but curiosity tugged at him. Amelia never talked about her life outside these walls. Where did she go after 7 p.m.? Why did she seem so guarded yet so open with Sophie? He glanced at Sophie's drawing, a stick-figure family with a smiling woman who wasn't Lily. His chest tightened. Maybe it was time to learn more about the woman shaping his daughter's world. The next evening, James sat in his sleek black sedan, parked outside his building. Amelia had just left, her figure disappearing into the drizzle. He didn't know why he was here, gripping her scarf like a lifeline. Maybe it was Sophie's drawing, or the way Amelia's eyes seemed to see through him. Whatever it was, he started the car and followed her at a distance. Amelia walked briskly, her coat pulled tight against the rain. She boarded a bus to a less polished part of town. James trailed the bus, his heart pounding. This was reckless, invading her privacy, but he couldn't stop. The bus stopped in Fremont, a quirky neighborhood far from his world of glass towers. Amelia entered a small community center, its windows glowing warmly. James parked and hesitated. He wasn't a spy. But he needed to know who she was. Inside, he saw Amelia at a piano, surrounded by a group of children, some in worn clothes, others with disabilities. She was teaching them music, her face alive with joy he'd never seen at his penthouse. The kids hung on her every word, laughing as she played a lively tune. James slipped into the back, unnoticed. A volunteer approached him. Here for the music program? Just observing, James muttered, his eyes on Amelia. She's amazing, isn't she? Amelia volunteers here every night. These kids love her. James's mind raced. Why hadn't she mentioned this? Was she hiding something, or was he just paranoid? As the session ended, Amelia packed up, and James ducked out, his thoughts a tangle of guilt and fascination. Back home, James couldn't shake what he'd seen. Amelia wasn't just a nanny, she was a force, giving her time to kids who had little. He started noticing her more, her gentle way with Sophie, her quiet strength. He began lingering when she arrived, asking small questions. How was your evening? He ventured one morning. Amelia smiled, guarded. Fine. Just, keeping busy. He wanted to ask about the community center but held back. Instead, he invited her to stay for dinner, claiming Sophie needed her. Over spaghetti, Sophie chattered about school, and Amelia laughed, her guard softening. James watched, captivated. You're good with her, he said. She makes it easy, Amelia replied, her eyes meeting his briefly. Later, James found himself confiding in his sister, Claire, over coffee. I followed her, Claire. I know it's wrong, but she's different. Claire raised an eyebrow. You're falling for the nanny, aren't you? No, James snapped, but his heart wasn't so sure. James followed Amelia again, unable to resist. This time, she didn't go to the community center. She entered a hospital. His stomach dropped. Was she sick? Visiting someone? He waited outside, then, against his better judgment, went in. At the reception, he overheard Amelia's name mentioned with a room number. He found her in a pediatric ward, sitting by a boy's bedside, maybe 10 years old, pale and thin. Amelia was reading to him, her voice steady but her eyes red. James retreated, shaken. Back home, he dug into public records, using his tech resources, guilt gnawing at him. He found a news article. Amelia Harper, once a rising music teacher, had lost her younger brother, Ethan, to leukemia 5 years ago. The boy in the hospital wasn't her brother, but the resemblance was uncanny. James realized Amelia's volunteering wasn't just kindness, it was her way of healing. He felt ashamed for invading her privacy but couldn't unsee her pain. James couldn't keep pretending. He asked Amelia to stay late, citing a work emergency. After Sophie was asleep, he handed her the scarf she'd left weeks ago. You left this, he said. I saw you at the community center. And the hospital. Amelia froze, her face paling. You followed me? I didn't mean to pry, James said, voice breaking. I just needed to understand you. Why? She demanded, tears welling. I'm just the nanny. You're not just anything, he said. You're incredible. Amelia hesitated, then opened up. She told him about Ethan, how his death shattered her, how she volunteered to honor him. I don't talk about it because it hurts too much. James confessed his own loss, Lily's death, his struggle to connect with Sophie. For the first time, they saw each other's scars. James and Amelia grew closer. He started joining her at the community center, helping with the kids. Sophie noticed the change in her father, her drawings now including all 3 of them. One rainy evening, James and Amelia took Sophie to a carnival. As Sophie rode the carousel, James took Amelia's hand. I haven't felt this alive in years, he admitted. Amelia smiled, hesitant. I'm scared, James. You're my boss. Anne. I'm not her. I don't want you to be Lily, he said. I want you to be you. They kissed under the carnival lights, a moment of hope amidst their fears. The evening after the carnival, Amelia sat in her small Fremont apartment, replaying James's words, I want you to be you. Her heart fluttered, but doubt gnawed at her. Could she really trust this happiness? Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her thoughts. An unknown number, but the message chilled her. "Amelia, it's Tom. I'm in Seattle. Can we talk?" Tom. Her ex-boyfriend, the musician who'd walked out 5 years ago when her brother Ethan's leukemia worsened. He'd said he couldn't handle her grief, leaving her to face it alone. She'd rebuilt herself since then, but his name still stung. She deleted the message, her hands trembling, and tried to focus on Sophie's next music lesson. The next day, at the community center where Amelia volunteered, James surprised her by showing up with Sophie. He carried a box of sheet music, a shy offering. "Thought the kids might like some new songs," he said, his smile warm. Amelia's heart lifted, but as she thanked him, a familiar figure stepped through the door. Tom, taller than she remembered, his dark hair tousled, guitar case slung over his shoulder. The room seemed to shrink. "Amelia," Tom said, his voice smooth but edged with regret. "You look incredible." James's smile faltered. Sophie clung to Amelia's hand, sensing tension. "Who's that?" she whispered. "An old friend," Amelia said quickly, her throat tight. She introduced Tom to James as a former colleague, avoiding his gaze. Tom lingered, offering to help with the music class. Amelia couldn't refuse without making a scene, so she nodded, her stomach churning. During the lesson, Tom's charm drew the kids in, but his eyes stayed on Amelia. He played a melody she'd written years ago, one they'd performed together. The notes unearthed memories of late-night gigs and whispered promises, before he'd abandoned her. James watched, his jaw tight, as Tom leaned close to Amelia, murmuring about their past. After class, James pulled Amelia aside. "You didn't mention him before," he said, his voice low but sharp. "He's nobody," Amelia said, too quickly. "He's just passing through." James's eyes searched hers. "You sure about that?" She nodded, but doubt flickered in her chest. She didn't owe Tom anything, but his return stirred old wounds, fear of being left again, of not being enough. That night, Tom found her at a coffee shop near her apartment. He'd tracked her down, claiming he'd seen her volunteer schedule online. "I messed up, Amelia," he said, his voice raw. "I was young, scared. I've changed. I want us to try again." Amelia's hands clenched around her mug. "You left when I needed you most. Ethan was dying, and you ran." "I know," Tom said, eyes glistening. "But I'm here now. I see you, how strong you are, how you're helping these kids. Let me be part of that." Amelia shook her head, but his words burrowed into her insecurities. Was James, with his wealth and complicated grief, too different from her? Could she risk another heartbreak? She told Tom to leave, but his plea lingered. "You don't have to do this alone anymore." Over the next few days, Amelia withdrew. At James's penthouse, she was quieter, her smiles forced. Sophie noticed, asking, "Are you mad at Daddy?" Amelia reassured her, but James felt the distance. He tried to bridge it, inviting her to dinner, but she declined, citing exhaustion. One evening, Tom appeared outside the penthouse as Amelia left work. James, watching from his window, saw them talking. Tom's hand grazed Amelia's arm, and she didn't pull away immediately. James's heart sank. Was she slipping away? Had he misread their connection? He confronted her the next morning. "Amelia, what's going on? Is it him?" Amelia's eyes welled up. "Tom, he's part of my past. He hurt me, but he's back, and I don't know how to feel." James stepped closer, voice soft but urgent. "I'm not him. I'm here, Amelia, for you, for Sophie. But you have to let me in." "I'm scared," she admitted, tears spilling. "What if I'm not enough? For you, for her?" James took her hands. "You're more than enough. But you have to choose." Amelia left, her heart torn. Tom's return had reopened old scars, making her question her worth. She loved James, but could she trust him not to break her like Tom had? And what about Sophie, who'd already lost so much? As she walked through the rain, she realized the choice wasn't just about love, it was about forgiving herself for the past and believing in a future she deserved. The community center buzzed with anticipation for the annual recital, a celebration of the children Amelia taught. Fairy lights draped the small auditorium, and parents filled the folding chairs. Amelia stood backstage, adjusting a young girl's costume, her hands steady but her heart racing. She hadn't seen Tom since their tense coffee shop encounter, but his words lingered, "You don't have to do this alone anymore." James and Sophie sat in the front row, Sophie clutching a handmade card for Amelia. James's eyes scanned the stage, his expression a mix of hope and uncertainty. Since their confrontation, Amelia had kept her distance, her responses polite but guarded. He'd poured his heart out, admitting he wasn't Tom, but her silence left him wondering if she could trust him, or herself. As the recital began, the children performed their songs, their voices bright but imperfect, a reflection of Amelia's patient teaching. She conducted from the piano, her focus on the kids, but her thoughts drifted to Ethan, her late brother, whose love for music inspired her work. She'd written a new piece for tonight, a tribute to him, but hadn't decided if she could perform it. Singing it would mean baring her soul, to the audience, to James, and to herself. Backstage, during a break, Tom appeared. His guitar case was gone, his expression softer. "I heard about the recital," he said. "I wanted to see you shine." Amelia's jaw tightened. "You shouldn't be here, Tom." "I know," he said, stepping closer. "But I meant what I said. I want to make things right. I see you now, how strong you are. We could rebuild what we had." Amelia's chest ached. Tom's remorse seemed genuine, but his presence felt like a tether to a past she'd fought to overcome. "You don't get to decide that," she said, voice low. "I've built a life here. For me. For those kids. For Sophie. And for him?" Tom asked, glancing toward the audience where James sat. Amelia didn't answer, her silence heavy. Tom nodded, as if conceding, and left without another word. But his question lingered, forcing her to face the choice she'd been avoiding. The recital continued, and the children's final group song ended to applause. The program listed Amelia's solo next, but she hesitated at the piano. The room quieted, all eyes on her. James leaned forward, Sophie whispering, "Is she gonna sing, Daddy?" Amelia's fingers rested on the keys. She thought of Ethan's smile, of Sophie's drawings, of James's hand in hers at the carnival. She thought of Tom's betrayal and her own fear of being hurt again. Then, she began to play, a haunting melody, soft at first, then swelling with resolve. Her voice joined, raw and clear. "In the quiet, I found my way. Through the shadows, I learned to stay. Every note, every tear, every fight led me here, to my own light." The song, dedicated to Ethan, poured out her grief, her strength, and her hope. Tears streamed down her face, but her voice held steady. The audience was silent, moved by her vulnerability. Sophie clapped first, her small hands breaking the spell, and the room erupted in applause. James met her backstage, his eyes glistening. "That was you," he said. "All of you." Amelia wiped her tears, her heart pounding. "I was scared to sing it. Scared to feel it all again." "You're not alone in that," James said, his voice soft. "I'm scared too, of losing you, of not being enough for you or Sophie." Amelia took a breath, her decision crystallizing. "Tom came back because he sees who I am now. But he doesn't know me, not like you do. I choose you, James. You and Sophie." James pulled her close, his arms a safe harbor. "I love you, Amelia. I'm all in, if you are." She nodded, tears mixing with a smile. I am. The next evening, at James's penthouse, Amelia sat with Sophie, reading a bedtime story. Sophie hugged her tightly. You're not gonna leave, right? Never, Amelia promised, her heart full. Later, in a quiet park near the penthouse, James and Amelia walked under cherry blossom trees. The petals fell softly, a reminder of life's fleeting beauty. You gave me back something I thought I'd lost, James said. Hope. Amelia squeezed his hand. You gave me courage to trust again. As they stood together, the weight of their pasts felt lighter, their future brighter. Amelia knew challenges would come, but for the first time, she believed she was enough, for James, for Sophie, and for herself. James, Amelia, and Sophie walked through a park, planning a music scholarship in Ethan's name. James had stepped back from his CEO role, prioritizing family. Amelia, now his partner, not his employee, was teaching music full-time. As Sophie ran ahead, James proposed to Amelia under a cherry blossom tree. You showed me how to live again, he said. She accepted, tears in her eyes. The story closed with Sophie's laughter, a symbol of healing and hope, as the three walked hand in hand, their hearts finally whole. Thank you for joining us on this heartfelt journey through the heart's unseen path. Your time and emotions mean the world to us, and we're grateful you shared James, Amelia, and Sophie's story of love and healing. This tale, crafted with care, is entirely fictional, created to inspire and touch your heart. If their story moved you, we'd love for you to join our storytelling family. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel to catch more tales that stir the soul. Drop a comment below to share your thoughts. We can't wait to hear what this journey meant to you. Thank you, from all of us, for believing in love's unseen paths.